Life for me growing up was very chaotic, that I could sum up with a handful of words. Hollow, lost, broken, empty, unsatisfied, constantly searching for fulfillment anywhere and everywhere. 38 years of me running around full chaos. And I remember the first experience of trying to self-harm at the age of 8. I was trying to pierce my stomach with a pair of scissors. I remember feeling that pain and the release in the mind. From that young age, I was associating pain as a release, pain as a form of channeling this restlessness, that this internal chaos that I felt. It was the start of the path down the road of looking down other avenues. It was more and more drugs. And the thing is, with the drugs, they're a short escape, you know, but that short escape magnified the problems by 100 when you came back. What it actually happened was I took an overdose and I woke up in the Ulster Hospital. Now, this has happened many times before, but I knew exactly what to say to get released. But this time I knew there wasn't going to be a next time. I hung myself. It was eternal darkness. Thankfully, I was found, I was resuscitated, you know, I was brought back to life, but I then realised that death wasn't the answer. And then one day my dad asked me would I go to the gym. And I said, no. Didn't know what to do, didn't know what, you know, had no idea about it, the gym or anything like that. So my dad had asked me for a couple of times, and one day I says, you know what, why not? And the next day I was in tears. The next day I couldn't even scratch the back of my head without going, oh Dad, what have you done, you know? And then I was like, there's your pain. If you want pain, there's where you can get it. And again, another method of hiding in plain sight. So when you're going to the gym and training for self-destruction, you create something beautiful to look at, but internally it's not. You know, internally I was dead. All I felt was pain, and that's all I was searching for. Was I needed to get that pain. I didn't feel compassion, I didn't feel empathy, I didn't feel love. My daughter Amber, who was 5 at the time, says, Daddy, will you take me to church? And I had something in my mouth. I don't know if I had a mouthful of coffee, a mouthful of water, or a mouthful of food, but I nearly choked on it. Because at that stage of my life, I was in full Viking mode. Well, when Amber invited me to church, I said, absolutely not. Darling, I'm a Viking. The Christians run away from Vikings. Ask your mummy. No, Daddy, it has to be you. Ask your Granny Pat. Amber says, no, Daddy, it has to be you. Ask your Uncle Stu, he'll take you. No, Daddy, it has to be you. So I folded. I gave in. Away we went, and we walked into St. Mary's. I sat up the back of the church, arms folded, and in my head, then I heard a spiritual nudge. He said at the front, salvation is for everyone. And as I'm looking at my phone, internally I heard, he's talking to you. Then off the back of that, I was invited to an Alpha course. 4.5 to 5 minutes into the intro of Alpha, I then heard the words that I experienced my entire life. Hollow, lost, broken, empty, unsatisfied, unfulfilled, constantly searching for fulfillment anywhere and everywhere other than in the Lord. And then I sat back, and it was this kind of moment where I realized, like, maybe there's something here. I think it's 6 weeks in. Here we are Monday morning. You know what? I could maybe give the Bible a go. So I turned to Joshua 1. And as I'd finished reading Joshua 1, I got this impression. I got this picture that my life had been a series of car crashes, a series of bad decisions. And at that moment, at getting those feelings, I just placed my hands out. And I said, Jesus, my life's a mess. I need you in my life. And within an instant, he came into my life. Not only did he come into it, he healed all that was broken. The pain, the anger, the hatred, and turned that around into the opposite. And he gave me love, compassion, empathy, the will, the want, the fuel, the fire, that his name has to be shared with everybody.